Let us learn about the types of exceptions in Java. So there are three types of exceptions in Java: checked, unchecked, and error. What is a checked exception? Checked exceptions are exceptions that are checked at compile time. So when we write the code and when we are compiling the code, the compiler forces us to handle these exceptions. So what does it mean? It means that in certain circumstances, when we are writing certain kinds of code, certain unexpected events can occur with a lot of frequency. For example, while we are handling a file, while we are trying to open a file, it is likely that the file is not present, or that file is not in a readable format. So we would want to handle that unwanted event. Similarly, when we are going to a network to fetch data, we may be able to connect to the network, or while we are fetching data, the network might get disrupted, and so on. So that's an unwanted event which is likely to happen, or which can happen, and we know it can happen, and hence the code forces us to handle it. So these kind of exceptions are known as checked exceptions. Most likely forms of checked exceptions happen in the case of file handling, networking, databases, etc. The second kind of exceptions are unchecked exceptions. So unchecked exceptions are there which cannot be handled or which are not checked at compile time. They're also referred to as runtime exceptions. So they happen when the code is running, and typically the user is not very aware of them that they would happen. So these are known as unchecked or runtime exceptions. Couple of common types of runtime exceptions or unchecked exceptions are arithmetic exception and null pointer exception, and we will study them in the later lessons. The third kind of exception is error. Errors are unrecoverable errors which invariably lead to program termination. So these are errors from which it is very difficult to recover, and hence the program terminates. Most common form of errors are out of memory error, when the computer or the machine has run out of memory, and hence there is nothing really that it can do about it. Another similar form of it is stack overflow error, from which it is very hard to recover and the program terminates. So to just broadly get a brief understanding of it, so checked are those which we need to handle while we are compiling the code at compile time. So they are handled when we are writing the code. Unchecked errors are errors we can recover from but happen at runtime. Runtime means when the code is executing. And errors are also exceptions or errors that happen when the code is executing, but they are very hard to recover from and the code gets terminated.